All right, hello and welcome to this edition of the EV Revolution Show. My name is Kenneth Bokor, your host for this episode where I've got another car review. As you can see behind me, a brand new Volkswagen ID.4. It's a 2022 model year, of course. They're coming out in Canada later on this summer. I was lucky enough to get this from Volkswagen Canada. A big shout out and thank you to them for letting me get use of this vehicle. It's actually a US vehicle for only a couple of days, so this is a fairly quick review. So thanks very much for taking the time to listen to me. Let me get right into some of the overview of the vehicle. So all new for 2022 model year is the Volkswagen ID.4, and I'm going to apologize if you're getting some wind noise. It's going to storm a little bit, so I'm trying to get this video shoot in before I can, and there's not really many places to film in my subdivision that's kind of going to be quiet. But if you look at the exterior of the ID.4, it represents a nod to the future with a look that could only be Volkswagen. Of course, at the front, you have the big logo. At the back, you've got ID.4, large LED headlights, which is in keeping with a lot of their models nowadays. And it really is a nice, clean, utilitarian look, I'll say. You know, it's got all the methods for easy entrance and exit through the doors and easy loading and unloading for the hatch. It's really a purpose-built vehicle for people that want a compact SUV, that want some roominess, that maybe have some kids or some things to lug around, maybe tow a small trailer, all this kind of stuff, without spending a fortune on some of the bigger, more luxurious all-electric SUVs that we've seen come out so far. And I think the ID.4 does extremely well at fitting that utilitarian space. Now, as I mentioned, the ID.4 is a compact SUV. It kind of fits right in the middle of that segment. It's a little bit shorter than the Tiguan from Volkswagen, and it's a little bit lower as well, but you know, I find the ride height to be really nice. You sit up high and great visibility in this vehicle. Now, the ID.4 is built on a new steel chassis designed to be strong and agile. It's certainly not going to win any Monaco Grand Prix races, but it will get you from A to B in a safe and sturdy manner. It features strut-type front suspension on lower control arms with coil springs, dampers, and an anti-roll bar. In the rear, it uses multi-link rear axle with coil springs and some dampers as well and a roll bar. It's just 3.5 turns of lock to lock to turn that in a radius of 10.2 meters. Now, I like the clean lines of the ID.4. It's not going to turn a lot of heads because it's going to blend in very nicely with existing compact SUVs that are on the market today. And I think that's a good thing that Volkswagen's done. They've wanted to go all electric and design something from the ground up, but not really kind of make it glaring that, hey, I'm electric. Do it in a nice, subtle approach. Now, for the powertrain, this is a rear-wheel drive single motor version that I have right now up from the US, but we will get both a rear-wheel drive and an all-wheel drive version as well available in Canada, same in the US. Now, they're all underpinned by an 82 kilowatt-hour battery pack, 77 and change usable space, which gives an EPA estimated range of 401 kilometers or under about 250 miles or so, something like that. Which is, I think, very adequate for the large, vast majority of day uses, and I will talk about road tripping in a bit. But so far, you know, it's got enough torque and power to get me going. This is the single motor, and the single motor gives about 201 horsepower with 229 pound-feet of torque. And when you bump that up to the all-wheel drive, you get about 300 horsepower and 3 and change of torque as well. So it does get you going. A lot of people will probably, especially in inclement weather areas, opt more for the all-wheel drive. But I think for the price point of the rear-wheel drive, which I'll talk about at the end of the show, I think it's really got a nice acceleration curve. Now, for charging, this does support 11 kilowatts of onboard AC charging up to, so certainly will full charge over a night span or up to 80 or 90%, what you choose. It does support up to 125 kilowatts of DC fast charging. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, especially when you factor in an 80 kilowatt battery. But again, we'll talk about the charging curve in a sec, but it's more than adequate for the vast majority of daily use cases or every couple of days, you know. If you have a level 2 charger at home, you plug it in, it'll go 2 or 3 days probably before you'll need to charge it again. And, you know, as Volkswagen does, as most OEMs recommend going to 80 or 90%, not topping it up unless you're going on a road trip. Now, when I picked up this vehicle, it was fully charged. It showed 434 kilometers or 270 miles. I did an initial highway drive of about around 90 kilometers or so, at about 115 kilometers per hour on the open freeway that we have here outside of Toronto. And the initial efficiency that the dash showed was 214 kilowatt hours per kilometer. It's not going to be the most efficient, but again, I don't think Volkswagen is trying to make this the most efficient. They're trying to make this as a utilitarian hauler of people and stuff. Now, with regards to charging, as I mentioned, it does have a great charging curve, and you can see by this graph that the secret to good charging, especially for road tripping folks, is not what the maximum pull is. Because some people can state, I pulled 240 kilowatts or 300 kilowatts or whatever. It's how high you can pull for how long. That's really the secret. And VW has a great charging curve for fast charging in this machine. As you can see, it'll get you from 10 or 20% to 80% in under 30 minutes or around that time, depending on the charger. It does maintain a good pull for a long period of time and then gradually goes down. And again, that's going to translate to a really good road tripping experience where the average family or the average couple or person is going to stop probably for 15 to 20 to 25 minutes anyway to charge, you know, get a break, all that kind of stuff that we do on longer road trips. And I think this matches that type of use case exactly. Now, the interior of the ID.4 is very well appointed, excuse me. It's got a good use of plastic and non-plastic materials. I think it's fine. Some people get too particular on the materials. Look, it's for a family, it's for a couple, it's for somebody that has a dog or whatever, for hauling stuff around. It's that kind of vehicle, and Volkswagen, in order to keep this price competitive, is not going to build a truly luxurious interior. I think it's really nice, you know, so after spending the whole afternoon driving this thing back from where I picked it up and doing some running around, it's very comfortable. The seats have great support. Everything is within easy reach from a controls function. Only took me a minimal amount of time to kind of learn the menu system and figure out where things are. Now, the base version of the ID.4 comes with a 5.3 inch cockpit, or the digital driver display for the binnacle, which are standard on both trims of the ID.4. And it also comes standard with a 10-inch center infotainment, or what they call the Discover Pro Touch infotainment display. If you upgrade using the statement package, you'll get the 12-inch Discover Pro Max infotainment display, which is what this model has, and I'll show you a little bit of what that looks like in a sec. It also has voice controls and all kinds of other stuff. You know, you can say my hello ID and all that kind of stuff, and do some voice commands. I haven't tried it out. Has a wireless app, which I haven't tried. Now, sticking with the interior for cargo space, this is the package that has the power trunk. So it will open and close through a power through the remote, through a button on one of the doors, or again just by using your hand, and then there's a button on the hatch. But it's got a great use of cargo space for its class. Behind just the second row, you've got about 30.3 cubic feet of cargo space, about 858 liters. And if you drop the second row behind the first row, you've got 64.2 cubic feet of space, or 1,818 liters, with, of course, the seats down. Now, there is no frunk in this, and Volkswagen keeps the front very minimal, easy to find your washer fluid and to check, you know, brake fluid and the normal things that you're going to check, the coolant for the battery system and everything. And that's all really most EV companies want you to do now, is basically don't have to think about the maintenance. Just fill up your windshield washer fluid and do some visual checks from time to time. So this is pretty easy to do. So there is no frunk space. They've just kept it minimalistic with with all the electronics up front. Now, a couple differences between the US and Canadian versions. As standard for the Canadian versions, because we have our cold temperatures up here, hurrah, they will come standard with heated steering wheels, heated side mirrors, and windshield washer nozzles that are heated as well. And of course, Volkswagen's heated windshield, which is a great feature if you've never seen it. It's like a defroster for the front, electric defroster for the front windshield. Works extremely well in clearing ice and snow off the windshield. And there's also a onboard heat pump, which has been revamped from the older e-Golf. It's much more efficient, much more technologically advanced than the older one, and that should save some energy as well for cooling and for heating. Now for safety and driver assistance packages, Volkswagen's, they outfit it adequately. They give you all the common stuff like their advanced driver technology, which is autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian monitoring, which is standard, the front assist. Blind spot monitoring is great because not only do you, I think, get a beep if you try to change lanes, but there's a big yellow light that shows up on the side of the mirror when a car's in your blind spot. And the side mirrors are huge, which is great. So that's one good bonus from a safety perspective. I really like that. Rear traffic alert, adaptive cruise, as I talked about, I'll talk about in the driving. Road sign detections, lane keeping assist, which is okay. Travel assist and some other emergency assist stuff. Haven't really looked at it all, but you can check out the website for lots of information. All right, so now let me give you my quick driving impressions. Let's go for a ride and I'll show you how the lane keep assist works and give you my thoughts. All right, so some quick driving impressions on my first drive here in the VW ID.4. So far, it's been really pleasant experience. The seats are extremely comfortable, all kinds of positions. I've been playing around. I like sitting nice and high. It's got great visibility all around. Big side mirrors so you can really see what's behind you. And all the instrumentation is very easy to look at and to decipher. I'm finding the menu system just a tad laggy as far as changing screens, I mean. But again, this is an early this is a US vehicle, early production. I mean, they've started delivering them, and I think the software will just get better and better over time. But everything works really well, just sometimes you gotta swipe at it and then wait a couple of seconds before it actually slides over. So just a small thing. As far as the driving though, it's a very nice, pleasant experience. Very comfortable, absorbs the road bumps very nicely. It's a quiet cabin, even with all this glass here, as the whole roof is glass, as you can see, or most of it. Still very quiet. Obviously, the tires are going to have some impact onto that, but a very pleasant experience. The steering is very nimble. You know, it turns and it reacts. You know, I'm not able to go crazy here on these city streets that I'm driving in right now. But otherwise, it's extremely nice. The road manners are very capable. Just before I started recording, I was on a bit of a bumpy road around an industrial area, took it for a quick spin, and again, handled the bumps very well. You know, for a vehicle of this class, for a compact SUV. No rattles, nothing shaking, nothing squeaking, but a very pleasant experience. Everything is within reach. I just like I like everything that it offers, and I'm a big guy. I just noticed that it has a armrest here. I love armrests. I'm all about it. Ever since we had our minivan taking long trips, nice to kind of recline back a little bit, take it easy. It's a very comfortable position. All right, so I've activated the lane keep assist, and yeah, I had it on a different setting, so this is much more smoother and keeping in the lane. I find that about every 10 seconds or so, it asks you to take over the steering, so it's a little quick. But otherwise, keeping it in the lane here, as you can see, is pretty good. It's a fairly windy day. I'm going into the wind now at this speed, but it's handling it quite well. It's just that you get this reminder about every 10 seconds to take over the steering, and then it'll start beeping at you. And this works quite well. And I just wish the frequency for taking over wasn't as short. But again, it's designed as a level 2 autonomy as an assist function, not really so you can sit back and read a book or you know, surf the internet or anything while the car drives. But it does keep it nicely in the lanes here, and it's pretty smooth.
Now turn right onto Benneter Avenue. Turn right onto Caspian Street.
So when I give a quick look at the rear view monitor, so when you're backing up, I have it in reverse. You get this view with parking sensors that will chirp when you get close to something. They have different views here that you can do. And then there's also a, if you're backing out of a driveway kind of view, gives you more of a fisheye lens on, give you a wider viewpoint. So here you can see curb to curb from this picture. So it gives you just that little bit more room if you're backing out of a parking spot or something like that, or laneway, gives you that, so you can change that. And again, this is a motion sensor. When my hand gets close, gives me the options to come up. All right, so here's a quick look at the main. This is the upgraded infotainment display. If I look at vehicle information, everything's pretty straightforward. You know, some people complain about the snappiness of the software. I do find it lags a little bit, but again, this is first gen. I'm sure the software is going to get better with updates that VW will do. So it's the vehicle status menus and things that you can do in interior, setting some of the light features and this kind of stuff as far as exit lighting. So there's a lot of good basic menus, things you can go through, and then of course charging, you can set it to 80 to 100%, whatever you want. Again, VW recommends 80% as the norm. Tesla recommends 85 to 90. So everybody's a bit different, but again, 80% will get you, you know, 350 kilometers or so on a good day, which is more than enough for daily driving. So it's a pretty decent menu system. All your other stuff, you know, the nav is pretty good. It's a nice color display, all that kind of stuff. You know, where you want to go, whatever, all that kind of stuff here. I'm just trying to see your contacts, all kinds of things that you can do here. Haven't really played around with it too much because I was more focused on trying to get the review going. And now one other thing I wanted to show about this is I was mucking around with just trying to slide my finger across the screen, but it does have a proximity sensor. So all you do is wave your hand in front of it and it will change the screen. Wave it again to go to 3, because there's 3 different screens that you can drill into. So I thought that was a nice feature to have, that you can, so when you're driving, you can just, you know, do that depending on what screen you want to get to and do different functions. I think that's pretty nice. The climate control works pretty good. I have it off just so we don't get wind blowing onto the screen here, onto the phone, but it has a nice auto feature, keeps it nice and cool, and all that kind of stuff. And there are smarter things that you can set for quick cooling, cool feet if you want to direct the air. It does have rear vents as well. So it's a nice, easy climate control. And then there are haptic buttons here for the driver and the passenger, just to do quick changes to some of the temperature controls. And the main passenger binnacle, there's not a whole lot going on here. It's pretty basic. You get a couple of different things that you can do. You can do the adaptive cruise control, the ACC here. You got different elements. You can change the menu as well. Basically, you can just have it shrunk. You can have it with the driving features more prominent than the speeds, or you can have it that's basically it. One other quick thing, now I noticed that, hey, there's only 2 window buttons here for down. How do I open and close the rear doors? Well, what you do is you push on this rear, you see how it lights up. It's haptic feedback, and then the buttons work for the rear window. So they only have 2 buttons, and you just change if it's for the front, the rear is not lit. If you want to roll down up and down the rear windows, you put the rear. So Volkswagen's thought this out. They've got some nice features up here for the map lights. Also for the panoramic roof, there is this option which will let you close. There's a sunshade that'll roll across, and it's a touch. You just kind of swipe. There's no button. You just swipe it across, and it will close off. And as you can hear and see now, that it's closing off. So you've got this nice material. You can stop it at any time. You can also open and close it through the digital display. But I just thought I'd show this function because it was a little easier to show. Using this glide control. There's really no physical button. You just glide your finger through it, which I thought was kind of neat. SOS button, of course, whether you want the lights to come on with the doors open or not, and then your button here for your hazard. You've got climate, quick to parking menus if you want to park. You've got your climate quick ones. You can do your safety assist functions if you want them on. And then you can do your different driving modes, of course, and I always like to keep it on eco, and that's how I roll. So there you go, just a quick synopsis of the menuing system. The shifter is pretty straightforward, easy to use. It just takes a couple times to figure it out in your standard stocks. So I talked a little bit about the range and efficiency before, or maybe it's after coming up on this part, but I just wanted to show you. So yesterday I drove all highway, pretty well highway, about 95% highway at about 115 into the wind for a lot of it, and with the AC on because it was a 30+ degree humidity Celsius day. This morning I don't have the air on. I'm driving and I drove to work, and as you can see, my efficiency is at 12. I had it actually at 11.9, 11.8 a little earlier, and so it will be efficient, under normal circumstances, right? I am keeping track of the ranges here, and I'll have a chart coming up in a minute, a little bit about that. Now, there is 2 modes, as I mentioned earlier. There's a drive and a B. B is your regenerative. There's no paddles or any way to change the regeneration. It's set on one setting. It's called B mode, and it's almost one pedal driving. You can come almost to a stop. It won't let you stop. It won't hold you at a stop either. There's no hold function here. So you do need to use the brake all the time to come to a complete stop and to hold yourself. If you let your foot off the brake, the car will move forward. The ID.4 does come with a front disc, rear drum, again for saving on money, on cost. Just wanted to point out these couple of small tidbits of information that this vehicle can be pretty efficient. And again, I'm driving in eco mode as well. For that, if I push the mode here, you'll see the mode. So I've had it on eco mode for the whole time. There's comfort, sport, and custom. I haven't tried the others. I'll probably try comfort later on, but what I'm trying to do is just to see what the range is for just normal daily driving, doing my things, and to get the best perspective in the nicest weather, because now we're into summer and we get the nice temps. One thing I just wanted to summarize again from an efficiency and range viewpoint. I talked about it earlier, but here's that chart again. So as I mentioned, I only had a couple of days with the vehicle. I put a total of 271 actual kilometers, but the number I want to really take in is the kilometers projected. And what that means is that's what the vehicle thinks how many kilometers I have for range on a certain trip. So I take what it thinks it has when I start the trip, and I take what it thinks it has remaining when I end the trip, and I subtract those numbers and I get a projected range, and I compare that to the actual. And that's what those two columns on the right hand side mean, that the ID.4 projected that I would have 262 kilometers of range during those driving circumstances, but I actually had 271. So you can take two things from there. One, it's pretty consistent in giving its range estimations. So it seems that the OEMs have got much better at that, because I know at first, it was kind of more of a guess than actuals. And second, it seems to be underestimating the range potential. And I know that it varies depending on driving situation, temperatures, terrain, loads, all kinds of factors, wind, all kinds of factors that will impact range on any given second, basically, while you're driving. But it does tend to formulate averages as the longer you drive. So I think that this held its range and efficiency very well. As I mentioned, I had under 180 kilowatt hours per kilometer efficiency for this short trip. I know that as the weather warmed up and I was driving more consistent in home, I could have got that down to a much better, probably under a 15 or ish number, 150 I should say. So I'm very, very impressed with the overall range and the capabilities of the ID.4 from a battery management and a charge viewpoint. Now, one thing I'm super stoked about this is pricing, and I have Canadian pricing here. You can check it out on the US price list and to see what it is there. But from a Canadian perspective, I was a little concerned that Volkswagen would price this over the minimum threshold for the national Canadian rebate that we have here, the $5,000 federal incentive program. But alas, they kept the base version just under that threshold at $44,995, which is great. And that's a standard version, which gives you a lot of, it will give you the rear-wheel drive with the single motor and a lot of goodies. Now this one has the statement package, which is an additional $8,000 Canadian, which gives you all kinds of other goodies. Without it, if you just take the base unit, get the federal rebate, you can get, and without a substantial down payment or a trade-in or anything, you can be out the door in the low 40s. And I think that's a really good price for a vehicle of this size and what it offers from a feature. And I think that's a key to the Volkswagen ID.4's success. I think they've priced the base unit extremely well for what you get. You get decent efficiency, you get good interior space, you get good feature sets, you get a safe, nice visible machine that you can drive, and good charging characteristics, and an all-around good package. Does it excel at anything? I'm not sure. It's not going to be the fastest, it's not going to charge the fastest, it's not going to go the longest. So probably not, but it's good at everything, at pretty well everything. May not be great at anything, but it's good at everything. And I think that package is worth under $45,000 Canadian, especially when you can go out the door with the federal rebate on there. So that's good. I mean, it will tow 2,200 pounds. So for small utility trailers and camper trailers, you want to put a bike hitch on here, or a bike rack, you can do that. This will be able to do that and satisfy a lot of needs. If you want to spend a bit more money and go up to $49,995, just under $50,000, you can get the all-wheel drive Pro version. And that, again, will give you dual motors, will give you more horsepower, more torque, and some extra goodies in there. The good thing is that the higher end model still qualifies for the $5,000 federal rebate as well. So that $50,000, after you add your taxes and everything, you take your $5,000 off, it will bring the price down to a reasonable amount. And that's a really well-equipped vehicle with all the goodies that you're going to need at any point in time. And I think that's a good deal. Now, the ID.4 is initially coming to Quebec and BC here in Canada first, soon, probably in the July or August timeframe, and then it'll come into Ontario after that, probably in the early fall timeframe, and then other parts of Canada as needed. And I think it's going to sell very well. Again, with that base price point, you get a lot of features, you get good range. Again, we're only getting the one battery pack, the 82 battery pack, kilowatt battery pack up here, and I think that's great for all use cases. So I'll stay on this quick angles and wrap up, with my final thoughts. To summarize, the ID.4 really is, I think, value. Volkswagen understands what a lot of consumers want, especially from a utilitarian perspective. They build a lot of those kind of vehicles. And I think they've nailed it with the ID.4. It's a very comfortable vehicle. It's got roominess. It's packed with a lot of standard features that you would find extra on a lot of other vehicles. The new design language, I think, is striking from Volkswagen. It carries through from the ID.3, which is only in Europe, to the 4, and will move forward to the other ID models, all based on the MEB platform here. And I think it looks nice. Up here in Canada and some of the northern US states and other areas that will get snow and ice, it's built for the winters. Standard features like the heat pump and a lot of the heated elements of the vehicle are great that you get that as standard, so it's going to help you a lot into winter time. It's got good acceleration, 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds with the all-wheel drive. That's nothing to sneeze at. The number one reason that I think that this is a thumbs up recommendation, absolutely, is the price point. Both in the US and Canada, it's very competitively priced. In the US, you'll be able to take advantage of federal tax credits and really bring your price point down. And I think this is going to get a lot of people that are on the fence about an EV that may not want to spend the money on a Model Y to get a little bit more of a CUV experience and look at the ID.4 as a good vehicle that's solidly built and that will get the job done. So my hat's off to Volkswagen to give you my initial impressions and some thoughts on it. I hope you found it helpful. And again, thank you, Volkswagen Canada, for getting me this car. I feel blessed that I'm one of the first ones here in Canada to have a quick look at it. Thank you very much for that. All right, and that's it for this edition of the EV Revolution Show. The hair wind-blown look today, folks. Sorry about that. We got a storm coming. Anyway, thanks very much for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, I really appreciate it a lot if you subscribe. Thank you very much. If you haven't, please consider subscribing. I'd love to have you on there. And if you click the bell as well, you get all that instant notification stuff. So thank you very much for watching. Again, I'm always humbled by my Patreon supporters. You know who you are. Your names go up in the end credits every show. Thank you very much for helping me out. If you're interested, click the link below and you'll get some more information about how you can support me on Patreon if you want to. And of course, my PSA, continue to stay safe, follow public health guidelines. If you haven't got your shot yet, your vaccine, please do it as soon as you can, and continue to watch the EV landscape. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it's exciting times, as I keep saying at each and every show. Oh my goodness, so much stuff. So until the next show, again, thank you very much for watching, and again, stay safe, and I will see you when I see you. Take care, and bye-bye.